Welcome. So today we're going to be reacting to some crazy submissions from r/AmITheButthole. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, then stick around and enjoy. So this first post says, "Am I the butthole for telling my mum she's an unwanted guest?" This one has been marked by the subreddit as the a-hole. So I'll be very interested to see if that's actually true. My wife has had a stressful time at work and was looking forward to a vacation at her grandparents' cabin. She brought a few books she wanted to read and I brought my fishing rod. She had no plans to entertain. My dad stopped by to go fishing. It was supposed to be just my dad stopping by for the day, but somehow my mum inserted herself and I was shocked to see her. My wife had no plans to entertain her. I told my mum that. My mum bought stuff for lunch and dinner and tried to engage my wife into making dinner for us all, and my wife said no. She's relaxing and reading. If my mum wanted to cook, that's my mum's prerogative. My dad and I got back late, and at the table my mum started to complain about how she did all this herself. I looked at my wife, who just took a plate and ate in her room. My mum started to complain to me about it, and I told my mum she technically wasn't invited, and my wife had no expectations to entertain her in my wife's cabin while my wife is on vacation. Absolutely. My mum started saying, well, she wouldn't have came if she knew that. I told my mum, next time, take the hint. If you aren't invited, don't come. My parents left after dinner. My mum complained that my wife should have tried to be a gracious hostess, and I said maybe my mum should try not being an unwanted guest. So, in the comments, AmITheA says, congrats to your wife for actually prioritising her wants and not succumbing to the pressure to entertain and host. So the OP then says, my mum thinks reading is boring, so she thought she was doing my wife a favour. My mum has never got it through her head that some people read for fun. Okay, what? Why? And then Mother of Puppets replies, oh, I get that shite from my family every time I join them for a vacation. I have to say I don't want to about 20 times before my mother and aunts accept that I find their walk boring. Yeah, I don't see why this was voted as the butthole. I don't think OP is the butthole here. His mum arrived uninvited, started to try and take over, bought food, purposefully expecting your wife to cook without asking her if she even wants to. No, I don't think you are the butthole. I think it's really good you stuck up for your wife and said, absolutely not, mother. I am voting this not the butthole, personally. Am I the butthole for giving my daughter's things back that were taken away as punishment? I'm 31 and my husband is 30. Our daughter is 7 and she found a puppy in the front yard and played with it. Turns out it belonged to our neighbours who were looking for it. They accused her of stealing it and my husband gave her extra chores. She refused to do them, saying she didn't steal the puppy. What the hell? Already? Like, what? She was playing with a dog in the front. Like, why is your dog not locked in? Like, in a back garden securely? If you don't want the dog getting out and playing with people. Like, what? Like, first and foremost, keep a track of where your flaming dog is. The neighbours came to apologise a bit later as their son confessed to losing the puppy on a walk when he took it off his leash. That's how it ended up on our yard. I came home that evening and my husband explained this. He said that she should be disciplined for not doing the chores. I said she's right to not accept unearned punishment. He said it's the principle and she should listen to her father. I said I would rather die than teach her that she should lay down and accept mistreatment. We argued and he called me unreasonable. Am I the butthole? Personally, I don't feel like you are. I do think it's good to do a whole united front thing when it involves parenting kids. However, in what world would you have just sat there and believed that your kid stole a whole puppy? From the neighbour, no less, without thinking, oh, maybe the puppy just got out and then was out the front playing with my kid. Like, why would you go straight to, oh, you little thief? Like, what? So, in the comments, discount Mithril, not the asshole. My bigger red flag is your husband's actions through all of this. He took the word of a stranger over his own child, exactly, assigned punishment based on a misunderstanding that was later cleared up, but refuses to lift the punishment and apologise for his actions towards your daughter. His arbitrary, she should listen to her father, is the bigger red flag for me. He refuses to back down and admit he is wrong and is keeping up with an unearned punishment that he wants to double down on because she fought against it in the first place when it was wrongly assigned. OP, please keep an eye on this. I'm not saying it is currently abusive behaviour, but it's got the leanings of possible future abusive behaviour. There is nothing wrong with punishing a child when they actually do something wrong, but there is everything wrong with not admitting to being in the wrong and refusing to apologise when needed. Your husband is an a-hole. See, I'm not sure about the whole it being a big red flag for future abusive behaviour. I just think the dad has just really got off on his high horse here and didn't want to back down, too prideful to back down. I don't think it's that serious. I just think he's being far too prideful, and no, you're not the butthole. He is in this case. Next up, am I the butthole? I offended my sisters while explaining why I didn't want children. I, 28F, have 4 siblings, one of them being disabled. The other 3 have kids. This part is about A, 35F, and B, 32F. A has 4 kids, 17F, 15M, 14M, 9F. The younger 3 have severe physical and mental disabilities. B has 3, 12M, 7M, 2F. The oldest and middle have the same disabilities as my older sister's children, and the younger have Down syndrome. They are both stay-at-home mums. All the children are in disability programs my country offers, but there is not much money left after all the bills of therapy and meds they need. Their husbands have okay jobs, but with the severity of the children's disabilities, it's hard to go by. On the other hand, I am single, child-free by choice, went to university, totally debt-free, have a master's, and work from home in my dream field. Last month, I bought my first house. I invited my family and friends for a housewarming this Saturday. I paid for 2 caretakers to take care of their children so they could come. Everything was fine and fun until the end of the night. My friends had already gone home, and it was the 3 of us. They started to talk about me settling down, marrying, and having kids since I bought a house. I remembered that I didn't want kids. I'm assuming that means I reminded them I didn't want kids. This talk circulated several times until they asked me why for the 10th time. I told them, besides really not wanting to have a child, I love my freedom. I love the life that I already have. Thinking about our family DNA, that is a high chance of having a disabled child, that means more work and sacrificing. I don't want to sacrifice myself. I want to have money for hobbies, to take care of myself, for expensive clothes and hairdressers, to travel, to live, and not just survive. I love them. They're great mums, but I don't want to make the sacrifices to be the same. I would be an awful and spiteful mum, and no one deserves that. Yeah, exactly. If you know you would be a crap mum, then don't be a mum. Don't have kids. If you don't want to have kids, whether you think you'd be a good mum or not, if you just don't want them, don't have them. Why is everyone so obsessed with people having kids? Especially if you have a pretty heavy family genetic history of, disabilities and issues like that, and you can't cope with that. Don't do that to a child, and especially don't do that to a possibly disabled child, because that's a lot of work, and you need to be someone who knows that they could be in it for the long haul. From everything I said, the only thing they listened to was about not wanting a disabled child. They went on a spiral about how much of a blessing their kids are and how I'm an egotistical bee and so much more. They blocked me on social media and aren't answering me in the family group chat. My mum called to give me a speech about how my disabled brother 36M was a blessing in her life, how he is a gift from God, and uninvited me from Christmas because my sisters won't come if I come. This is all very dramatic. You didn't say, I hate disabled kids. You literally said, I don't want to have kids, full stop. I don't want the responsibility of that. And I certainly couldn't cope with the added responsibility if they were disabled, which is fair. Not everyone is cut out for that. And you shouldn't put any kid through it if you're not cut out for it. I called my brother, 39. His 2 children are adopted. He admitted a long time ago that this was due to the high chance of a disability in our family. He told me my delivery is rude, but they also suck. They should know not everyone wants kids. He encouraged me to apologise because I know how they are. So, Wheel Artist says, not the a-hole, I'm disabled myself. Honestly, it sounds like your sisters want you to make the same decision in order to validate their decisions, which is a very human thing, but not really fair to you. You aren't them, they might love having kids and want more, and that is valid regardless of what anyone else does or does not want. Also, they are possibly taking out their own struggles with resenting the difficulties on you. No matter how much of a blessing children are, even people who wanted them and who had able-bodied kids have moments when they just plain regret having them. It would be much healthier if people admitted and processed this. Not wanting kids is a valid choice. Not wanting them because there is a high risk of disability, which means inevitable struggles, plus could be incredibly unfair to the child, is also valid. A lot of people fuss about not wanting a disabled child as ableist, without addressing the chief reason is we live in an ableist society that begrudges even basic rights for disabled children and adults. Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, if you don't want kids, don't have them. Again, it's just one of those, isn't it? You'd make a crap parent if you wouldn't want them and you'd resent them. Your sisters need to process their own internal words and reconcile the fact that not everyone wants what they want. Their decisions are valid regardless of other people, and it's okay to not always be happy about the outcomes of decisions we made. That they can love their kids and still be mad that it's such a struggle and so difficult sometimes. Yeah, exactly. And really, the main takeaway here is stop trying to force people to have kids that don't want them. They are a massive responsibility, and it's 24/7 every day of every year. Not everyone can do that. Next post, am I the butthole for not responding when someone doesn't use my actual name? My 16M name is Nico, and it's not short for anything. On my birth certificate it says Nico, middle name, last name. This is something a few people can't understand, and some people call me Nicholas. Even teachers who see me in the class list as Nico and not Nicholas. What a weird thing to do. I'm a foster kid. I've been in the system since I was 2. My mum is the only bio family I know, but she's not able to take care of me. I see her twice a year through court-ordered visits, but nobody in her family and I don't have anything to do with my paternal side. I've been with my current foster family for 3 years, and I'm really happy with my foster parents and foster siblings. My foster parents actually want to help the kids they foster, and their kids are cool with the parents fostering and don't bully me or others for stealing their families. Is that something that happens often? That's really sad. So I hope I get to stay here until I age out of the system. My only problem is some of their extended families are snobs and they don't like calling me Nico, so they call me Nicholas, even after being corrected a million times. My foster parents have explained that my name is actually Nico, but not Nicholas. The reply is always, but Nico is short for Nicholas. A couple of the extended family have encouraged me to change my name because Nicholas sounds so much more professional for an adult male, which I will be soon. I was like, no thanks. Yeah, what a weird thing to do. If someone introduces themselves to you and says, hi, my name is Nico, you don't then go, I'm going to call you Nicholas. Like, what? No, so disrespectful, so rude, so just odd. My foster parents told me I should ignore whenever someone calls me Nicholas now. Unless they're new and just assume, still, again, you shouldn't just assume if someone introduces themselves with a name, you assume that's their name. But I can ignore their family members who do it. So that's what I did. I've ignored them a handful of times now, and it bothers them so much. Yesterday it happened twice, because one kept trying to call Nicholas over, and I just didn't go. The other asked Nicholas to pass the potatoes at dinner, and I kept eating and didn't pass anything. I was then called out for ignoring them, and my foster parents said nobody knew who they were talking to because there was no Nicholas at the table. I'm so glad that your foster parents are on your side on this. One of my foster sisters says she assumed it was her, Nicole, and they got confused, and that's why she passed it instead. I'm so glad they're all in on this. I was told I should be more open to the wisdom others offer with the same suggestions and stop being rude by ignoring people. Even though my foster parents backed me up again, it made me feel a way because this really is my best foster experience and I don't want to piss people off in my foster family. So, am I the butthole? No, not at all. It's so disrespectful to sit there and say, no, that's not your name now. I'm naming you something different. What? No, not the a-hole. Your foster parents sound great and clearly have your interests at heart. Even the other kids, at least one anyway, are standing up for you. Your name is Nico, not Nicholas. It's extremely rude and disrespectful to deliberately call you by a name that isn't yours, especially with repeated corrections. It's even more rude and disrespectful to practically demand you change your name from something you like and see as yours to something you don't like and don't want. There is also nothing wrong with the Nico as a name. I'm sure it's not common, but it's not really weird either. No, it's not weird at all. It's not like, yeah, I don't know anyone called Nico, but I've known of people with that name, and it's not a bad name. I don't understand this weirdness about it. Your name is your name, and no one else gets to demand it be something different or call you by a name that isn't yours. Keep listening to your foster parents. It's them and their kids you want a good relationship with, not so much the extended family. And if you back down now, the extended family will never respect you and will continue to demand that you change things they don't like against your will. Continue ignoring anyone who calls you by the wrong name, unless it's an honest mistake. Continue listening to your foster parents and letting them stand up for you. That's part of their job as foster parents, and they're proving they're great at it. Yeah, I agree with that comment there. I just think that they are really bloody rude and disrespectful. Like, why would you ever sit there and say, I don't like your name, so I'm changing it for you? That's not for you to decide. Stop it. I would definitely not listen to them and just carry on this whole ignoring them shtick, because that seems to be annoying them, and that is funny. Am I the butthole for making my son pay for a new pizza when he didn't save any for the rest of the family? I, 45F, have 2 kids, 14M and 17F. My son has high functioning ASD, and honestly, most people cannot tell, but it comes out in certain aspects of his relationships, such as thinking about others, compassion, etc. My son also eats a lot of food, way more than someone his age. He is not overweight in any way, so the doctors have not considered this a problem. Here comes the problem. For years, when we have ordered food, he has neglected to realise that the food we order is for the whole family, not just him. My husband and I have both spoken to him about this multiple times, and usually he just gives half-hearted apologies. We are working on this with his therapist, amongst other issues he has. On Friday, my daughter had work after school, so she drove herself there while my son took the bus home. He said he was hungry, so I ordered him a pizza and told him to save some for his father and sister. I only took a slice. Usually my daughter does not eat much, 1 to 2 slices, and the same thing with my husband. They would have left him with 5 slices of a large pizza. About 2 hours later, my daughter comes home and sees the pizza box empty and starts bawling. She usually is not one to complain about food and will usually make her own food, but she did not have the time to eat before work today, and during lunch she was making up a test, so she did not eat since breakfast. I was furious at my son and deducted the money for a new pizza plus a generous tip to the delivery driver from my son's bank account. My son saw this and now he is pissed. My daughter thought that it was the right thing to do, especially since this is about the 3rd time it has happened to her. My son's reasoning is that he doesn't work, so his only sources of income are for his birthday and Christmas, so my daughter should have paid since she has a job. My husband and I are both on board with what I did, but I don't know, is my son right? Am I the butthole? No, you're not the butthole. At the end of the day, ASD or not, he still has to learn there are consequences for actions, and you have told him about 1,000 times that he's not to do that, that he has to share the food, so he knows fully well. And if he's not willing to accept that it's for everyone else too, then he's going to have to pay for it. It's tough luck. People with ASD don't automatically just have no comprehension of life whatsoever. You need to learn consequences no matter what. Update. For everyone saying we are underfeeding him, we have tons of food in the house. The fridge is stocked. We have snacks, ingredients, etc. My son refuses to learn how to cook, even when we had offered him cooking classes. Even without learning to cook, we have boxed pasta, popcorn, bread, vegetables and fruits, rice, etc., all of which require no cooking ability. He simply chose to eat the whole pizza. Yeah, no, you're obviously not underfeeding him. I too have a little human locust on the neurospicy side who also eats constantly, but will also only eat a very select few things, which is a bit of a nightmare, I will admit. But I put out the same meal for them every single day for both the kids, and it's just to try and encourage to eat more diverse things, even though I know it's not going to happen. And yet there's always stuff in. But I do always say, you've got to save things for your sibling too. You can't take it all for yourself just because you like those over everything else. Again, kids on the spectrum of any kind are not immune to learning consequences of their actions and, basic social skills. It's harder for them, yes, but they can learn it with consistent lessons on how to do those things. In the comments, little Loki918 says, not the butthole. Having autism is not an excuse for eating the entire dinner and for leaving none for the rest of the family, even after being explicitly told not to do so. Exactly. Having autism is also not a shield against the natural consequences of his actions. He ate the entire large pizza that was the entire family's dinner, and you had to order another one. It was only fair that he paid for it. In the future, perhaps it's best to affirmatively set aside the food for your husband and daughter and yourself, labelled so there can be no confusion, and then let him eat. Also, there are some diseases that either lead to extreme hunger or prevent the full cues from registering in your brain body. Yes, there are. What's it called? I was literally watching a health documentary about it the other day. Oh, I can't remember now. But there is a few illnesses, conditions that can mean that the body just doesn't produce those cues for being full. and they are constantly ravenous. Oh, I'm really annoyed now because I can't remember what it was called, but I was literally watching it only the other day, which is quite funny, really, that this commenter would mention that when I was just watching a documentary about it the other day. But yeah, absolutely spot on. Obstapot adds, especially after being explicitly told not to, F around and find out is a universally acceptable way to encounter consequences and is often better than just being told. Exactly. And the thing is, with kids that are on the spectrum, usually it does help to see and visually feel consequences, not as in like, I'm not talking about, oh, clip him around the ear roll or anything, but what I mean is he's felt the disappointment of seeing that there is money missing from his bank account. He's felt the negative effects of that on himself due to his actions. And a lot of the time, kids with things like autism or, you know, they're just on the spectrum in general, they really need to see the consequences in action. Just telling them, don't do that because you'll be in trouble, doesn't work, because they are very literal beings. They need to see it in action. So I think this is a great way to teach that consequence. This is a proportionate consequence for the offence. Exactly. You ate all the food to yourself, you're going to have to pay to replace it. Not the butthole, and I think this is a perfect way to deal with this situation. You're not screaming, you're not shouting, you're just saying, right, you've done that. Now the money's coming out of your bank account. Perfect. Okay, so I think we're going to leave it there for today. If you've made it to the end of the video, I very much appreciate you. Thank you very much. Don't forget to leave a little like and subscribe. That'll help you come back here because I post every single day. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Thank you for listening and goodbye.